Hey y'all, this is She Buys It with Whitney Nicely.
Yay! Hello. I'm so excited that you're here. Y'all are going to love this conversation that we're going to have with Leslie Bradley. She was our first graduate from the She Buys It Mastermind, and she has literally mastered, I think, every piece of real estate that she's ever touched. Y'all are going to love hearing her story. She's in the Nashville metro area, and we may talk a little bit about what that means, because if you're not familiar with the Tennessee market, Leslie is in like the hot market, where I'm in like the younger redheaded stepbrother market of Tennessee. But she's still finding these deals. She's still getting them done. And I will brag on Leslie because she endured a 3-hour webinar when I very first learned how to talk about webinars. And she joined First Little and Fast when it was $9.97, or maybe we gave you a break for $8.97. I don't remember. But Leslie has been a rock star, and she has been with me for over 2 years. 2 years this month, actually, I think. And she has seen, we talk about the good, bad, and ugly on the She Buys It podcast and everywhere else. And Leslie has literally seen me in the good, the bad, and the ugly of coaching. I think Leslie taught me how to be a coach. So y'all are going to love this. She's got lots of great tidbits to share with you. And I can't wait to get started. Leslie set the record when she joined First Little and Fast. She got her first deal done, was it 6 or 8 weeks, and you made $12,000 on 2 duplexes.
It was in that range. Probably by the time I closed, it was 8 weeks.
I mean, I was like, doggone, this woman is going to be amazing. And she has grown to 48 doors in less than 18 months. She's doing all sorts of cool stuff. And I can't wait for y'all to meet her and say hello as She Buys It Live. But check out everything that we got on this podcast, because you're going to learn a ton about wholesaling, private money lending, lady landlording, and all sorts of other goodies. So is there anything that I missed, Leslie?
Yeah, that's a good intro. Thank you.
She also manages to do this with a husband who's the pastor, with 2 boys that she's in charge of and raising a family, and just got a puppy, and it's adorable. So if Leslie can do this, you can too.
Thank you, Whitney. Golly, you're, as I told you, just so kind to have me. I'm just a little on me, but I'm happy to share what I've got.
You are a rock star, and people are going to learn so much. So Leslie, take me back to the beginning. Take me back all the way to 2017, 2 years ago. And let's talk about that first deal, because I remember how this all came together. I don't know if you remember this or not, but from my perspective, I think you were listening to some podcasts. I think you might have signed up for like a little mini thingy with another coach. And then you found me, and you took a gamble on me because I had basically nothing at that point. Maybe I had Sherry's testimonial. Maybe I had another win or two, but I mostly just had me and a hope and a promise that we were going to get something done. And you jumped in and then took it from there. Is that kind of how it went?
That is, yeah, kind of how it went. I heard you interviewed on a podcast, and just several things resonated. You know, I didn't think that the female woman thing was going to be so significant, but it was. The fact that we were on the same state helped, and frankly, the fact that you weren't, how do I say this? Because you're successful, but you were not so far down the road that where you were, I could still see that being attainable. So versus some of the national guys or people that you watch, that's still out of my league. You seem like we seem like maybe we could be in the same league.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, now you've got more doors than I do. And you've been at this half the time that I've been at it. So
but I still have not done a single lease option deal. Right as I might.
Well, that's okay. You have definitely proven that you can take what I teach, what I try to teach anyway, and spin it and make it gold and make it your own and make it fun and enjoyable. And let's talk about that first deal, because
and that was part of the attraction for me of just real estate investment. Even before you, when I stumbled into this, the the gamut of opportunity underneath the umbrella of real estate investment was shocking to me. I knew about landlording and renting. I mean, I've been a renter before. I bought a house before, so I knew there was money in real estate. But I mean, we could list 10 different ways and just scratch the bucket on the ways you can make money in real estate. And my mind was blown. And so from that point, just started consuming and learning and soaking up as much as I possibly could. And in that process, came across you.
I say this all the time, that there are thousands of ways to make money in real estate.
Unbelievable.
And it's overwhelming to think of all the different ways you can do this and that and the other and this and that and somebody says this and somebody says that and blah, 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 blah. But one thing that I like to boil it down to is let's master lease options, owner financing, and wholesaling. Let's get that to where we completely understand it and we can do it backwards and in high heels and blindfolded if necessary. And from there, then we'll really get creative. Then we'll start doing some weird stuff. Then we'll get into multifamilies and private money lending and all that. But once you understand creative deals like lease options, owner financing, and wholesaling without banks, money, or credit, then everything else just gets better. And you practice, working out that creative muscle in your brain.
You learn how to talk to sellers and people and banks and title company. You have these conversations, you stumble, you get back up, you learn how to underwrite a deal. That's a fancy word for just crunching the numbers, and just, knowing your market, learning your market, networking in your market, whether there's so many people in my market that they do this day in and day out, but I don't know that they would ever call themselves a real estate investor. I mean, they're just guys that buy houses and do rentals, but you'll talk to them and come to find out that they inherited 30 properties from their daddy and they've been doing it ever since they were a little boy.
And how do you compete with that?
Oh, well, I mean, you just ask questions to learn what they know or what they, pick their brain a little bit, and then ask how you can help them.
Absolutely. If you're an asset to them, you'll learn a lot more. Let's go back though. Let's go back to that first deal.
Okay.
What happened? How did that get started? You were in First Yield and Fast, so you learned some stuff there. What did you do? What kind of action did you take?
Sorry, edit.
It's okay. The thing rings all the time with money coming in, right?
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer that. Your editors, can they fix this?
Yeah. Hang on.
I wish I could.
Okay, so tell me about the first deal.
So that first deal, so you talked all about how to do your yellow letters, and so I came up with a list and wrote my yellow letters, Sharpie on a yellow letter, and nailed it out. I think that list was probably a list of absentee owners, just people who did not live in the property address. And I had a fellow call me, and he was one of those guys that had owned rentals his entire life, and he was divesting of all of them. He was kind of done at the end. He traveled to Argentina a couple times a year, and he was just kind of done. So he told me, well, he thought they were ready. He said he had a duplex. And we're talking and getting the details, and he has another duplex also.
Just threw that in conversation.
Just having that conversation. And it's like, oh, okay, well, tell me about that one too. And so we chat, we talk, I get some information, and I was like, okay, thank you. Let me do a little research. I'll call you back. And when I did, it was later that day or the next day, maybe, called him back quickly. He told me what he thought they were worth, and I said, okay, let me send you the paperwork. Well, still being new to analyzing deals, learning what market value is, I went ahead and put them under contract with contingencies that I could get out. I wasn't completely obligating myself without getting any contingency. So put them under contract, and then I think I put them out on Craigslist as just a deal that was available. Didn't have the house. I don't have a house available. I had a deal, an opportunity, and had a fella call me. He was interested. I had several calls, but the one that ended up being the buyer was a fella that grew up in this town, and his family owns this business. He's sitting on too much money and just is looking to, he needs to put his money somewhere. He's interested in rentals, which I thought was real funny with this very first deal, having this old fella who grew up in this same little town, and then my end buyer being a young fella who's grown up and growing old in this town, be the one. And so this one seller sold me put under contract with me 2 duplexes for a total of 4 doors. And then this end buyer wanted both of these duplexes. And so I sold from one buyer to, I signed my contract to this young fellow end buyer.
And how much, I want to clarify, they sold you under contract these 2 duplexes, and then you assigned your contract to the new guy.
The end buyer. Mm-hmm.
So for you to get these houses under contract, how much money did you put down?
0. I think my contract technically stated that I was putting down $1. He was fine with it all. He just said, if you end up not wanting them, that's fine. Just let me know. And he said, so to make the contract binding, there has to be a something down. So I think there was $1 written down, maybe $10, but I could go back and look, but it's minimal. And I didn't even, when I turned it all into the title company, I didn't even pay that. When I turned it in, they just took it off in the accounting of the final settlement statement.
Well, I just want to clarify that because I love that point.
Yeah.
People make real estate super duper complicated, and it's because they want it to be hard. What you did was perfect. You just got in the middle. You helped a seller who wanted to get rid of a property, and you helped a buyer that wanted to get started buying properties. And you got paid pretty well to put these 2 people together, right?
Yeah, so each deal netted me $6,000. So each property, so for a total in the middle for those 2 properties for $12,000.
I love that
deal. Unbelievable. Amazing.
I love that. I love that so much because you're solving problems and you're making really good money.
That was really good money.
And I also want to point out that these were duplexes. So Leslie was with me when we first I think it was actually Leslie's idea to come up with an apartment class, and we developed Apartment Blitz. Because Leslie's first deal was on 2 duplexes, and you have to look at duplexes and commercial units differently. And she and I, neither one even tried that. She just got it under contract, and frankly, she sold it so fast, we didn't have a chance to run any different numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
We were just down and dirty and getting it done and getting those checks.
I've known in that initial, since when I first heard about this real estate investment and all the learning and absorbing, I pretty quickly figured out that multifamily was going to be the way that where I was headed. And I think I actually even heard you on a multifamily podcast, a guy that focuses on multifamily. So that's how I heard about you initially. And then it just made sense that the smaller multifamily market in my honey hole would have absentee owners, obviously, and then have tired landlords, hopefully. And I found one.
And there's tons of them. And when you find somebody that's got a duplex or a quadplex or something like that, they're probably also going to have some houses. And so the point is, you don't just have to wholesale houses. You can wholesale apartment units. Mm-hmm. You did on your very first deal.
Yeah, I know. And the fact that I didn't have to split them out and find different sellers, that it was one seller, one buyer, and just frankly fairly smoothly. I mean, the title company did fine, but they were a little bit of a challenge, just in that the attorney was very uber conservative. He knew what I was doing. He knew it was legal. It was fine, but he wanted both parties to sign a document stating that they understood I was making money in the middle. He was belts and suspenders on that. It's not something that's required. So it was a little bit of a hoop that I had to jump through kind of right before close. But they both understood. The seller understood and the buyer understood. And they signed the form and we went to close.
And I think that's what you are so good at, is when you're talking to these sellers, you don't just throw numbers out. You're actually going to talk to them and educate them and make sure they understand and make sure that they feel part of this whole process, instead of you just saying, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of money off of you, or, you know, anything else. It's that you're setting up the relationship. You're setting up those expectations. And as long as they get what they agreed to wanting, people don't really care.
Yep.
Make your money. Do whatever it takes to make your money.
I had the same seller reach out to me more than a year later. I was really surprised to hear from him that he remembered me, because he had a commercial building in town that he was looking to sell or lease out. I met with him about it. We ended up not doing anything, but I was shocked that he, you know, remembered me and then gave me that opportunity to analyze it. So,
well, don't be shocked about that, because when you do a good job for people, they're never going to forget you.
It was fun.
You helped him.
Yeah. So let's switch a little bit, because after you got that first deal done, you bumped up and did FDDF Plus, which is more kind of group coaching. And then you bumped on up to the Mastermind so that you could be involved with all the other programs and all the other things, and that growth spurt that we all went through last year and that we shined up this year and tried to perfect a little bit, but we're still growing. But in the Mastermind, and you are a first graduate, thank you so much. I love you so much. We do weekly calls, one-on-one, me and you, just like this, on a Zoom call. We do group calls. I remember very specifically one deal that you had under contract, and for a couple weeks, I think I tried to say, you need to keep this. But I don't want to tell you what to do until you came back one day and you said, I can't get anybody to buy this thing from me. I think I'm going to keep it. And I said, hallelujah. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm. I think.
Tell us how you got your very first deal. And it wasn't because I told you to do it.
No. So, well, I mean, that was, again, just mailing out my Sharpie letters and my pretty color envelopes, and I had a seller. She got this triplex in her divorce. And she
happens all the time. Women get properties through divorces and inheritances and all sorts of stuff. Women end up with properties they don't want to deal with.
Yeah. So she had been dealing with, I think by this point she had had it for nearly 10 years. Just had renters in it. And by the time I got to her, only 2 of the units were occupied. One of them had been vacant for a while and it needed some repairs. And she just couldn't keep up with it. She was remarried. Her new husband was having some health issues. She had grandbabies that she was watching. They were self-employed with a garage, and she was just spent and done. So we went and looked at it, and cute little street, brick triplex. And so, I thought it was going to be a great deal that anybody would gobble up. So I put it out on all my lists, all my buyers, the Facebook pages for the investors, just hawking it everywhere I could, and I had a bunch of people come look at it. And for one reason or another, nobody wanted the deal. And even on that particular deal, I had partnered with somebody on marketing, and we were going to be splitting these wholesale deals 50-50 for whatever we found. And so he thought about keeping it himself, sent some guys out there to bid some work, and he decided to pass on it. Well, and I could have, with the contract that we had with the gal, I could have walked away, but it was a triplex, for goodness sake. So I told her where we were, that I had tried to get some people to come in and buy it, but for whatever reason it wasn't working out, that I was interested and possibly being the end buyer. And so, but if you'll give me just a little bit more time, I'll see if I can work this out. Because I had not been analyzing the deal as a buy and hold. It had just been as a wholesale. So I needed to have a little bit of bid work done to see what I could work out. So she did, and we extended, and I was able to end up closing on. And we can talk about how that was financed and all that too, if you want.
Well, I want to talk more about your goals, because in January of last year, you had some goals to buy how many doors? Buy and hold how many doors? Do you remember?
I have, what, 5 or 6 or 10? I can't remember what my number was for last year.
It was like 6 or 10.
Yeah.
And just to, give it all away, you hit that by like May.
So
I think it was 6, and you had 7 by mid-May.
Well, it was by mid-June, because I actually this triplex and my other deal, buy and hold deal, versus they closed within 24 hours of each other. So I went from 0 to what's 4 plus 3, 7 in 24 hours.
And I think your goal was 6. So over a year, you wanted to end up with 6 doors, and it took us about 6 months for you to get 7. And that is the power of goal setting. That is the power of prayer. That is the power of massive action, because that's how you kept getting these deals. And then how much longer was it before you bought the 24 unit?
So that was, that probably closed, I'm trying to remember, a little bit later in the almost fall, like in the summer, fall, I think. Mm-hmm.
But still, in less than a year, your goal was 6, and you ended up with 30?
Nearly 30. Okay.
That is awesome. And that's calendar date. That still left, 3 months on 2018 for you to hit some more goals.
So I did. And I came up with some leads that closed right after the first of the year for 2019.
And I think I've got this great picture of you with key rings on your hand, and you're holding up a 5 on your hand, all your 5 fingers up, and you're standing in front of a 5 unit. And was that your 5th buy and hold by yourself?
So dude, get this. So much.
I love that picture so much.
So get this. So my first 2 buy and holds were duplexes, so 1 and 2. My 3rd buy was a triplex, 3. And my 4th buy literally was a 4-plex. My 5th buy literally was a 5-plex. Number 6 is actually a little single family. And then my 7th buy and hold was a 7-plex. No lie. I just couldn't even have done that if I tried.
That's amazing.
Right, but yes, that was a 5-plex. I had all my, the key rings on my fingers.
I mean, the numbers in that are just amazing. And I mentioned the 24 unit because we also came up with private money profits, and I think you're lending on that one. So
I am a passive investor on that one. So just a different way to make money is you invited me, and I attended with you the apartment weekend that we went to in January of, like I said, it was 18, I think.
Apartment Blitz. Yeah.
And
I'm living in that hotel right now where we had Apartment Blitz. So every time I walk through the dining room downstairs, I can remember playing Cash Flow and drinking wine and having pizza and hanging out with everybody that night. It was just
somebody's birthday cake.
So much fun.
Maybe it was just cake.
That whole weekend, yeah, it was just cake. Just had sugar.
So somebody else sourced a deal. Somebody that I knew sourced a deal. He had the bank financing, but you still have to come to the table with money. Difference, and he was looking for passive investors. And so I had recently moved my IRA out of the stock market into a self-directed, and was able to participate in that deal.
I love it. And so I just want to have like a clear kind of distinction that you've got 7 buy and holds that
that I'm the operator on that.
You're the whole thing. But then you are also investing on other people's deals with money. So it's kind of like a real estate side hustle, because there's thousands of ways to make money in real estate.
That's right.
And you're wholesaling houses and duplexes and all sorts of things. You're buying and holding and growing your portfolio. So 7 deals, how many doors is that out of 7?
So that's 24 doors plus my little, my one and only flip that I'm working on right now.
I mean,
so those were all purchased. Those were all of my buy and hold properties that I'm owner operator on. They were 375 days from first close to last close. I did that.
That's just amazing. I mean, 375 days, you went from nothing.
No buy and hold to 25 doors.
Plus all your wholesales, plus your private money lending, plus all the vacations and all the other things that you managed to do, like
real estate conferences.
Going to real estate conferences, yeah. Hanging out and doing all those things, and
Whitney Nicely.
Lots of time with me. But I just really want women to grasp that from wherever you are today, in a year and 10 days, you can be in a totally different world. You can buy and hold 7 different complexes, different units, different houses, different doors, different whatever, and you can be a private money lender, and you can go on more vacations than ever. I remember a ski trip that you took in February, and you were super excited because you got a assignment fee or a wholesale fee or something.
Well, no, that's another one. You know what? Yeah, that's a lot that I have that, I closed on my IRA, closed on that over that weekend, and I didn't have to be present because my IRA was closing on. So.
But it can all change, and it doesn't have to take 10 years or 20 years or 40 years at a 9 to 5. It can literally happen in a year. And I mean, you're not completely magical, are you? You're a real person.
With a lot of mental gymnastics going on up there. Mm-hmm. That's
okay, let's talk about some mental gymnastics, because you used to talk about that all the time. What are some of those mental gymnastics that you had to work through and build your muscles up to allow yourself to go from 0 to 48 doors in 375 days?
So it's all the self-talk. It's all the fear. It's all the what assumptions that you think other people are going to say or do or think, or killing the deal before you even pick up the phone and talk to the person and just find out what's going on with them. But instead, in your head, you just make assumptions about what's going on. If there's anything that you will learn, is you can never ever assume what a seller is thinking or feeling. You just got to get on that phone and just start having a conversation with that person. You cannot assume anything. So, but just stepping out of that, picking the phone, doing the action anyways, writing those letters, coming up with this list, getting on that phone.
And I think that's going to boil down to what could go wrong.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So tell me some things that have gone wrong, because you didn't just shoot up to 48 doors overnight and nothing bad happened.
No. So, I mean, one of the first kind of scary things was that title attorney wanting me to go to these 2 people and say, you got to have them sign a form, and me in my head knowing that this is not required by any state law or federal law, but you're making me go do this. Okay, fine. So that was scary and not fun, but they ended up being fine. Another thing was a wholesale deal I got in a contract. I again was putting it out to all the people, but it ended up being on the wrong side of town. I just didn't know. I was still learning my market. And the seller kept calling, you're going to close, right? You're going to close. We're closing on the whatever 5th, right? We're closing. And I was not finding a buyer. And by the skin of my teeth, I found a buyer who would only buy it for me, coincidentally, at the price that I had put it under contract for. So I was very thankful that I could keep my word to that seller, but I made 0 on that deal. But that,
all right.
I was okay with that.
Why were you okay with that?
Because I could keep my promise to that seller. He had an expectation of me. We were under a contract of terms. We understood what each other was supposed to do, and he had upheld his end, and I had to upheld my end. And I was not in a position at that point in time where I could physically close on that, not without scrambling very hard in figuring out different things. But I was able to find a buyer who would only buy it for a certain price. He didn't know what I had it under contract for, but it turned out that his highest and best was the same price that I had put it under for that. And I was like, okay, as long as you can close by the 5th, let's do it.
I think that is amazing because there's so many people on podcasts, so many people on Instagram and YouTube that will say, if you don't make X amount, walk away. But I think your name is worth a lot and your reputation is worth a lot. And I think it's amazing that you closed on it and didn't actually make anything right there, but you had that relationship again established with your buyer and your seller that said you're a deal maker and you're going to get it done.
Yeah, and it's doing the right thing regardless of what it does to your name or reputation. I think so.
Was that the one that had the extra lot of land beside it?
No,
that was a different one. Okay. Because I think there was another one that was a hard sale and you didn't make a lot on it, but you did end up with some extra land for free.
So that was one of the ways we thought that was going to play out. So it was a 2-parcel piece, again, from one seller, different parcels, but yes, 2 parcels, one with a little bitty house on it with a second parcel next to it that was just a lot. So I was able to wholesale the parcel with the little bitty house on it. And in part of those proceeds, I was able to purchase just outright the lot next to that. So, but yeah, that was another deal. I was really finagling and hustling, trying to find a buyer, and I did. And I took less than I thought it was worth or what I wanted or what I thought I was going to get. I still walked away with $5,000.
And that works. Every $5,000 counts. And that's what I really want the ladies especially to understand is there's no rule on how much you have to make because every deal is going to lead you to the next one. And you've learned as much doing these deals and closing these deals as you would have ever learned in any real estate seminar, boot camp, whatever, because real life and really talking to sellers and really picking up that phone, that's the stuff that makes the magic happen. Yep. Don't you think?
Have to take the action.
Gotta take action. Gotta take action.
Get out of your head. Mm-hmm.
Get it out of your head and get on the phone. Actually ask them what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, what are you working on now? You mentioned a flip. You're flipping houses now?
No. So, again, mailing. And this was a older lady, 60s-ish, who her and her husband had, her daddy did rentals in my honey hole her whole life growing up. He passed away. She inherited them. She had been renting them for decades herself. And this particular one, and they were out of town. They live in Knoxville, and the honey hole's out here in the Nashville area, where this house is. And so I specifically remember I hadn't done a wholesale deal in a little while, but I had done mailing, and I was out of state visiting family when the initial call came in, and I was just, do I call him back? I don't want to. I'm going to do this anyways. I literally had to talk myself into getting on the phone. Sweetest lady. And so, long story short, we had, I just heard a speaker in the local real estate investment group who focused on buying properties, 0 interest, 0 down, owner financing. And so I just threw a pitch out there. That house had a ton of rental damage and had some, actually some steam water damage in the crawl space from a water heater. And so they had started to do the rehabilitation on it, but kind of gave up in the middle of it. So that floor was half gone. It was half gutted. And I thought I would just wholesale the deal. But maybe I would make 10 grand on a wholesale deal. But after I have calculated the repair costs and what the ARV would be, the profit on it is north of $75,000.
$75,000?
So I got this little house for less than 30 grand, 0 interest, 0 down, $250 a month is what I have to pay her for 5 years.
That's incredible.
So I had those terms. Why was I going to wholesale that out?
No, don't wholesale that. Don't ever let that one go.
I knew I had lender money. I had access to private money to cover the rehab costs, because the $250 a month, I would swing that out of my personal money if I had to.
Yep.
Because that's just easy to make. So all I had to do was come up with the reno money, private money for the reno, which I knew I already had. And so I was like, I'm not wholesaling this contract. I'm gonna. So, oh my gosh, the full gut rehab. I mean, talk about studs. You can see the holes through the walls. And so we're doing a complete. So but it was a 2-1. And when we're done, it'll be a 3-2. We're doing a little small addition on the back of it, so the kitchen bigger. And I hope that this opportunity will be my first lease option deal. So the first lease option deal will be the one that I will do with my end buyer, so I don't have to cash out and have short-term capital gains. I want to hold on to it for at least a year with a rent-to-own buyer. And
I love it.
lease option. I know. So
I absolutely love it. I mean, in First Deal Done Fast, the goal is to get your first deal done fast. And I don't care how that deal gets done. And if it takes you 2 years to finally get around to what I actually teach, I'm okay with that.
every one of my offers has at least 3 offers, which involves at least higher purchase amounts, because we're going to do a lease option on this, and nobody ever wants to take my lease option. They want the cash.
Well, Leslie, you're making really good decisions. You're making really good deals, and you're making really good money. So you keep doing what you're doing. All right. There's thousands of ways to make money in real estate. And I think you found a handful of ways that you like and that like you. So, I mean, do it, baby.
Fun time.
I'm so proud of you. You're doing absolutely awesome.
You were instrumental, because I needed that cheerleader to get me out of my head, and you were there every week doing this and helping me get out of my head, stick to the goals, focus on the goals. It doesn't even matter whether or not you hit the goals, because action produces results.
Absolutely.
Not the intended results.
100%. And I have to say that I am pretty proud of myself, because as a coach, I've only been late to one appointment with one of my ladies in the mastermind, and it was you. And I don't know if you remember it or not, but I hear lots of horror stories about people that sign up for coaching and they get an 800 number and they can't actually talk to the person that they signed up with, or they can't talk to anybody that has a brain until they have 10 people on a buyer's list and all these things. And I'm really proud that I've never missed one of our one-on-one appointments, and I've only been late to one, and it was with you. And I'm not going to tell you why I was late, but it involves a facial and running over in my nap.
I think I had to reschedule in mine with you because I was mortified to have to do it. I was going to be the seller.
And that's fine. Go do your deals. I will catch up with you later the week or next week or whatever. It'll be fine. We also did a VIP day about this time last year.
It was almost kind of a surprise VIP day.
So when you graduate from the mastermind, I pop over and we hang out and go see your houses and do real estate things and just nerd out.
Sweat buckets is what we do. Oh, that was a hot day.
Yeah, we sweat buckets for sure. I wish y'all would start signing up sometime that wasn't so hot, but it's okay. So part of the mastermind is I come and hang out with you, and I have a blast doing the VIP days. So Leslie set up 2 houses with the same seller, and then we went and looked at some of her other deals around in her honey hole. And what's amazing to me is I'm always terrified that when I get in a new place, I won't be able to make it happen. But what I've learned is y'all are already making all the magic happen. And you just need a little bit of support and encouragement to push on through. You need a handhold. You need somebody on the other side saying, come on, come on, come on. Don't step there, but come on, come on, come on.
Exactly. Yes.
Did you ever make a deal happen with that seller that we talked to?
Oh, no. No.
What kind of seller was he?
Oh,
Because this is a seller that's a character, and he is in every small town across America. And I thought it was amazing that we had appointments with him on our VIP day.
So this is a fella who's done a lot of his own deals. I think he buys a lot through auction. I think he was probably a former car salesman of the slimy nature.
My dad calls these people know-it-alls. Or one-uppers. But this is the kind of seller that you're never going to make a deal happen with, because they've already done all the different ways and they already know all the things, and you just need to walk away from these. But they're really fun and entertaining when you look at them for the characters that they are.
Yeah, there was he ended up putting a realtor sign on those yards.
That's fine. Let them deal with him.
And I knew who that realtor was too. He was a big time wholesaler.
They're two peas in a pod, I reckon.
So, yeah. And you know what? It's just another thing is, there's just so many different ways to get there, and that just keep working it until there is nothing else to do. Keep following up. It's either sold or you get the sale, or maybe you don't, but you tell them to go talk to this person over here because that person's better. Just getting to an end result. And there's so many different ways.
There are thousands of ways, and getting it done, or at least getting it finished and putting a bow on it, feels so good, doesn't it? I want to talk about live too, because this is the third year that you're coming to She Buys It Live, which used to be called something else, but it's She Buys It Live officially now. And the first year we were a hot mess, but we got it done and we learned a lot. And you brought a friend, the lady you were working with, who's a real estate broker who had never really been exposed to me or my style of real estate before. And then you came last year and we were a little bit more put together and a little bit better polished.
My sister that time.
Brought your sister this time. So out of just 2 years of growth, I even kind of gave you a little sneak peek at what we got going on this year. But I think you said it earlier, is we're all growing and we're all learning. And you said that I'm not that far ahead of you, and now technically you're ahead of me. So what's it like coming to She Buys It Live?
I'm only ahead of you maybe in properties, whatever, but you're still ahead of me in many other ways. So She Buys It. So these events are fun just because you get to see the other women, and especially this past year, because you talk to these women, you find out their past, and then what they're doing, and some of them are doing a little, some are doing none, and you can kind of see the fear in their eyes, and then following them in the months after the event and how far they come on what they can do. And so just in your encouragement on, bringing several women up on the stage, just chatting with them, or just all the interactions and the conversations and the encouragement. So.
And you've been to other real estate seminars, and She Buys It Live is totally different because it's, mostly women. You've brought your husband Matt to a couple different ones, but it's just different when there's 100 women together hanging out and actually encouraging each other.
Yeah. And so they can see it for themselves
and see that you're real.
See that, it's real, and that people are actually doing this. And most of us, some of us are. We've all either got husbands or jobs or our own lives and kids, and it can be done.
It can be done. What kind of advice do you have for anybody thinking about getting their first deal done or anything? What advice do you have for somebody listening to the podcast?
And I'm with this now, even in where I'm trying to go next. I know that people do what I am doing and what I'm trying to do, and I listen and learn. So I know that there's a path. So it's just a matter of, faith and work, faith and action, or faith and, just knowing it can be done, and then just, taking the steps, learning and networking and as much conversation as you can have, because you can be there too. And so
you got to have the faith of a mustard seed to move this mountain from here to there. But my favorite part of that is to move. You're not just going to make it hop. You got to move it. You got to work it, which I think is what you're saying.
Being intentional. You got to be intentional, and it's got to be intentional action.
I love it. So I know that the ladies can join the She Buys It group on Facebook, and you're in there sharing your stories and celebrating and doing all that. Is there anywhere else you want people to check you out? Or
yeah, message me on there and we'll chat, and happy to help however I can.
Well, thank you so much, Leslie. It's so good to see you. I miss you a ton. But I'll see you in November at She Buys It Live.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Bye, y'all. This has been awesome. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you like the Facebook page and subscribe to the podcast too. Bye, y'all.